Thank you for joining. I wanted to go through something real quick. We are seeing a phenomena of sorts, a definite, discernible phenomena. Because when you go on the internet, let's just say you're on Facebook, as an example, you're going to find these high gloss graphics. And in the religious world, they're going to be very professional looking, where you don't doubt them because they state the different scriptures and they build a case scenario for what it is, whatever doctrine that they're trying to put forward. But see, here's the problem. You can't judge the validity or assume or make assumptions or presumptions on the validity of that particular subject matter if you don't know scripture. Okay? Pretty self-evident, right? Well, most people don't know scripture. They don't know their spiritual identity. They don't know they're standing in Jesus Christ. They'll say all day long, well, we sit in heavenly places with Christ. Well, that's okay. But if you got the wrong doctrine, then it falls back on 2 Thessalonians, for example, chapter 2, about the delusion, where they would rather believe a lie than the truth. So when they're cobbling together all these different scriptures, and you can, let's kind of qualify and quantify that. You can usually say or tell or discern where they're coming from if they put together a conglomerate. I know we're using a lot of big words, bear with us. A tapestry, in other words, of things that apply to your flesh. Okay? Now, the 7-year dispensational pre-trib rapture cultists are pandemic. They are just horrible when it comes to that. Butchering scripture, leaving things out of context, cherry picking, not giving the word its total meaning. We're bringing out the total meaning because they're living in the flesh. So for these latter days, the biggest challenge, hurdle, however you want to call it, for people is understanding that challenge. They let's put this in another perspective. Let's say it couch it a little differently. If they're living in the flesh, they'll be thinking about things of the flesh. But if they don't take into consideration the totality of Scripture, especially in the case of the 7-year pre-trib rapture dispensational cultists, then what they're doing is cobbling together systemically a bad doctrine by trying to climb up to heaven by another way, another means. So you have this polemic, this diametrical coming from both sides, diametrically opposed positional theories, doctrinally applied, scripturally applied, but doctrinally wrong, that apply to the flesh. Don't think so? What about the case of all of the people that want to live in the past, the preterists? What about all of the people that are pre-trib, that are dispensational, that think about things in the future, but they skew it by coming out with a different subset of supporting scriptures that they use or cite as their proof text? But if they don't have the Spirit, then they're under the grand delusion. There's a flood coming, and the flood's already here. In many practical ways, spiritually, it's already here because of all the bad doctrine. Because you have the preterists, the historicists, you have the modern day futurists, which are post-trib, that are in a constant skirmish type battle with the pre-trib. And they come out with this flowery, just AI produced, high gloss graphics, trying to give them the validity that they need. But they're dropping the ball. They're dropping the spiritual ball because it's all about their flesh. And then you have these few people that call themselves the 144,000 that are from the honorific, let's say that again, from the honorific tribes of Israel in a spiritual sense. And they're living in the Spirit. They're not under the grand delusion. They know what their spiritual identity is. They know what their spiritual heritage is. And they're trying to get that truth out. But nobody wants to listen. Nobody. Practically, let's rephrase that. Practically nobody wants to listen to the remnant truth. But it's the truth. The Christians are now the elect. You know, the word says, make your calling and your election sure. That's what we're doing. making that calling and that election sure, amidst, in the canopy or backdrop of all Scripture, of all time frames, because it was Jesus Christ. And then you get into things like dual covenant theology, that the Jews are saved under the old covenant, that only the Christians are saved under the new covenant. But they negate. They're wanting to live in the flesh engine, but they negate what Jesus Christ did on the cross when he said, "It is finished." They negate what Jesus Christ said, that your house is left unto you desolate. Matthew 23:38, that we talk about all the time. They don't take these things into consideration. So they're squabbling over their new formats that they're trying to produce with all this validity when it's already in Scripture. But they want to pertain to the flesh. They'd rather believe a lie. They're under the strong delusion. Well, I was going to read it, matter of fact. Hold on. Here we go. This is 2 Thessalonians 2:10. And with all deceivableness of unrighteousness in them that perish, because they receive not the love of the truth, they're wanting to stay in their flesh, is what it amounts to, that they might be saved. Here it is. And for this cause God shall send them strong delusion, that they should believe a lie. They'll come back at you each and every time. I don't care if they're Catholic. I don't care if they're Protestant or protesting Catholics. I don't care if they're 7-year dispensational pre-trib rapture cultists. They will come back at you every time. And they will say, look at all of these Scriptures that we expound upon. Look at all the love that we will show you if you come to our 501c3 tax-exempt, license from the state who created it, church. Look at all that. They're still wanting to live in the flesh because they haven't come out of her. Revelation 18:4, come out of her, be ye not partakers of her sins, nor receive of her plagues. We'll cap it right there. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being a part of a small cadre of believers. Start your own. Nobody owns the remnant message. A remnant of who? A remnant of Israel. Get yourself in a position to be supernaturally chosen, blessed, and favored as spiritual Israel. That's the family that you want to be in, like we were saying before. Make your calling and your election sure. And know ye not that the temple now resides within you. Some things to think about and pray about. Get yourself in that position. Because you'll be out in the wilderness. But you won't be under the delusion. And you'll be believing the truth. As unpalatable and as unpopular as it may be. Choice is yours. You got to make it. Like we say in Indiana, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. Everybody's heard that. So if you're remnant, stay remnant. Help get this word out there. Love you guys. We'll talk soon.